Hello there. Today we're going to do some talking about tuning of the violin. I had a question from somebody who just got their violin and didn't have time yet to go to the store or to a luthier to get their instrument tuned and set up properly. And they were curious how to go about tuning. So this is to answer your question. On the violin you have two basic means of tuning. You got these pegs up here, our tuning pegs. If you turn them a little bit, they make a big change on the string. And then down here we have fine tuners, and just a little change makes a very little difference on the string, so you can get very precise with it. Now, something to think about as you're tuning, all four of these strings are just held on by tension, right? So they're wrapped around here, they're hooked here at the end, and as they tighten, they pull on this tail piece here, and if one is tighter than the other, you're going to hear a little change as you go through the tuning process, if that makes sense. So, for example, if my A is in tune, and then I tune up my D and my G, even if I had my E in tune to start with, by the time I got back to E, it's probably going to be out of tune. So this is a process of starting, checking, and making sure that you go over it again so that everything's in tune. As it gets closer and closer in tune, things will settle in. All right. Now, if your violin has the 4 fine tuners on it, great, you're ready to go for this video. Sometimes violins will only have one, like my main violin here. I only have my E on there because E is kind of particular to get in tune. So you can do it without having all 4 fine tuners, but if you're just getting started, they're definitely helpful. Okay, so my violin, beautifully out of tune. Now, always have a reference point. You can do this with a tuner. You can have it on your phone. For example, I got one here. I could just play a note and then copy that note. Oh. No, not that one. That's metronome. Here we go. That gives me an A. So I can copy that sound, or if you look at it, you see it'll tell me if it's in tune or not. Now this is fine when you're getting started, but remember you're going to be playing the instrument without the tuner. So you want to practice getting it in tune with your ear. So you really want to train the ear. And then as time goes, you're going to find that by tuning, that really helps you with listening for whether things are in tune between your fingers and open strings as well. So you can tune by having a pitch playing, by playing a note into it and it tells you if you're in tune, but ideally by listening, however you're doing that with the piano or with a tuner like that. Today I'm going to use the piano. So I'm going to find middle C. That's the 1, 2, 3, 4th C of the piano from the left side. And then I'm going to walk up to an A. C, D, E, F, G, A. That's the A of your violin. So I'm going to play that. And you hear we're well off here. So as I'm tuning higher, as I'm stretching the string, I'm going to turn the peg gently and turn inward. So kind of a corkscrew effect, because these are only held in by friction. Okay? So notice what I did. Holding the violin with my one hand and plucking the string repeatedly so I can hear it changing. If I just pluck once and then make a change, maybe I've gone too far. It's better to work your way up slowly than to go too far and come back down. If you stretch out your strings too much, you wear out some of the life and quality of the sound. So, A again. We're really close there. So we're going to leave it for now and check the other strings. Our violin strings are tuned in 5s. So if I'm on A and I walk down, I find my next string, D. Ooh, way out of tune. I'm going to play that again. Notice I'm plucking the whole time so that I keep a reference point going. I'm really close, so I'm going to go down another 5. Close. All right, now we're going to go up to E. So we find that A we started on again, and we go up 5. Now, I bet you if we come back to A, we're probably going to be a little bit more out of tune than when we left it. Now, why is that? Remember, as we're tightening the strings, they're each pulling on this tailpiece, and so we go through and tighten them all up, and now everything's kind of sitting at a different tension across the tailpiece here. So we just have to go through and check again. Down 5 to D. Sometimes the pegs can be a little picky, like this one doesn't want to move smoothly. So if it's close and the peg isn't wanting to move smoothly, we'll save that and we'll do that with the fine tuner. Down another 5 to G. Really close on that one. Then we find E again. Now we're close. Let's use the fine tuner there. Alright, so we get back to A. Bit of information, a tip that's helpful I find is don't listen for the second that you pluck it. If you listen, it's going to sound almost like ba, and then settle in. You want to listen for when it's ringing after the pluck. That's when you're getting a little more true pitch. Okay? Now that one's a little bit off, so I'm going to... Sometimes it's helpful to hum the note as well, because then if you're humming and matching the piano note and the violin note is different, you can feel in your voice where you had to change to make that. Do you have to go higher? Do you have to go lower? Okay? Now, a violin can be tuned basically with the plucking, but if you want to get really refined with it, you got to bow it. It's not going to give you as true of a pitch as, say, tuning your guitar, which is designed to be plucked. But let's go ahead and do this here. Okay, now at this point I've got my A in tune pretty well. I'm going to play my A and D on the piano together and then listen for that on my violin. They should sound very even. If you hear any wobbly or wavery sound, you want to get rid of that. It should be perfectly smooth sounding. Now, just to give you an example of what that might sound like, that wobbly sound. That one isn't going to change all that much. Let's go to G. We'll use that one as an example. Very sour sounding. You hear it's a slower waver now? It's almost like wah, 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 wah. I want to get that so slow until it disappears entirely. Made my life a little more difficult by trying this on a violin. It doesn't have a chin rest or a shoulder rest or anything, but it's worth the challenge, right? So we started with A, tuned it with the peg, got it really close. Repeatedly playing the A so that you hear it as you're tuning it. Then we went to D, and then we went to G. Then after we got those three in tune, then we went up to E, our smallest string here, and tuned that one. Then since everything is still kind of settling in, we went over it again. Then lastly, we went to bow it. And we can bow individually and check. Now you hear it, the pitch came down a little bit. And that's normal, especially with new strings. They're going to take some time to settle in. Yeah, that string's going a little false there. So on these strings, they're very old. So sometimes when they get too old, you'll get them in tune and then they start sounding out of tune again. Yeah. So now we're in tune. They'll probably go out soon. They're very old, these strings. Now we're in tune. All right, so the basic rundown, big changes with your pegs, little changes with your fine tuners. Start off slowly, repeat, take your time to really listen and match the note. It's helpful to hum the note, make sure you're matching. If that is a little bit too much all to start with, then start with a tuner on your phone, or you can buy tuners as well. And play into it, and it'll tell you how far you need to adjust to come into tune. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to help. And if you have a different setup than this, say you only have one fine tuner, leave a comment, send a message, let me know, and I'll walk you through how to tune if you don't have all 4 fine tuners on it. Okay? Thank you very much.